Hi, this is Ask Maureen, and we're live today. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Ask Maureen, now available for listening on iTunes. So it's now a podcast. So the odd thing about doing live on your big laptop, which is what I'm doing today, I'm using a new piece of software, is the camera's up here, but the screen is down here. So today we're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about, in this episode, I'm going to weigh in on the Amelia Earhart photo that occupied our attention last week and do a live consult. In my blog last week, I wrote about orphan photos and my quest to learn more about a picture taken by George Parlow of New Bedford. And Katie Kendall wrote and told me that she was researching a photo taken by Kendall and wanted to know more about it. So we're going to talk about that today too. And it is a multi-part mystery, meaning you just can't imagine where this photo mystery is going to take you. There's so many layers to it. Now, Amelia, here she is in the screen. We're going to make her bigger. Whoops, there she is. So the History Channel devoted two whole hours to, on this newly rediscovered photograph of Amelia, which supposedly shows her prisoner in Japan. Now, the facts are simple in Amelia's case. She was flying, her plane went missing in 1937. And there's like, did she crash into the ocean? Did she crash into the island? You know, what is the truth behind the Amelia Earhart story? Is this a photograph of Amelia? This one is, but is the one that's been all over the web, Amelia and her navigator, Fred Noonan, or isn't it? Now, with all of these photo mysteries, the best thing to do is you have to break it down into its parts. Now, the researchers on the History Channel documentary have done a lot of research, but there are a lot of theories about Amelia and what has happened to her. And so, you wonder, is it true or is it not? So the thing that jumped out for me, in this Amelia Earhart mystery photo, which purports to show her and her navigator. Of course, the woman in the photograph, or supposedly the woman in the photograph, is in a profile view, which makes it much harder to do facial comparisons. And then supposedly the ship is towing her plane. Now, there's a lot of back and forth about this online. We'll post some of those links with this piece so that you can read them as well. The big question for me in this entire Amelia Earhart current controversy over that photograph of two people standing on a dock who appear to be been taken prisoner by the Japanese in 1937 is, what's the proof in the archives in Japan? What kind of documentary evidence is there in the archives in Japan? Well, guess what? A researcher in Japan, after watching the History Channel documentary and probably seeing all the things that were online, has done some research in the archives, and she claims that photograph was actually taken in 1935, not in 1937, and that it was widely available in publications. Just another theory. Frankly, I don't think we're going to see the end of this Amelia Earhart mystery anytime soon, and certainly a lot more people are going to weigh in on it. So, should we talk about the photo identification mystery we have for today? I think so, because it is a fabulous one. And here, I'm going to make Amelia smaller. Here's what Katie sent me, Katie Kendall. So, my story that I put on my Facebook page and on my blog was all about an orphan photo taken by Parlow that I just became completely enamored with. And so Katie lives in New Bedford and found this mirror with this top with all of these pieces in there, and wanted to know more about it and wanted to know more about the baby picture. So there were two pictures in this photo mystery. And there's a whole lot of other stuff in this as well. So she saw this and thought she had to have it. and she took a picture of it to send to me to use in this Ask Maureen segment. It is a mirror, and the upper part of it has 2 photographs and a whole lot of newspaper clippings. And so in preparation for this Ask Maureen, I have been digging around online, as has Katie, to come up with some information that maybe will help sort out the mystery, but maybe not. I mean, this is a really complicated case. So it's a mix of newspaper clippings and 2 photographs. And I have to ask, as you do, how do all these clues add up? To solve it, I advise all of my clients, for whatever photo mystery we're tackling together in one of these consults, is you have to take it apart. Take it apart in pieces, and not necessarily take apart the photograph, but break it down into smaller steps, so then you can see where it's going. Now, in this case, Katie did some research, and actually, I think I have it here. Oops, actually, it's this photo right here. We have so many photos to show today. I want this to go away. This is my first time using this new software. Let's see if I can make this even bigger so you can see what I'm talking about. So down here is written, Lucy Hill, died age 8, Chicago, 1867. Seems like a no-brainer, right? You're thinking, this little photograph over on the left must be Lucy Hill, who dies at the age of 8. Well, this person must be 8. Seems like this might be a memorial piece. Not so simple. So this little girl in the chair is in a fringe chair, and it is the format and size of a photograph from circa 1870. The other photograph shows a child with much larger ears and a different style of yoke, much later. And then all of these clippings, one's called Little Girls, one's called Alone, and these are poems and stories. So Katie is an experienced Ancestry.com user, and she searched for Lucy Hills in Chicago, dying in 1867. She didn't come up with anything. I poked around and did some more searching and didn't come up with any immediate exact matches either. So then Katie took apart the mirror because she wanted to see what was on the back of these photographs. Let's see if I can get this larger. There we go. Guess what? Oops, this doesn't. Oh, whoa. Whoa. Let's see if we can get this over here. It is too big. Let's see if we can get this one bigger. There we go. Oops. Come on. I'm not going to touch the mouse. We're going to see how this works. It's giving me some problems today. She flipped over the picture of the toddler or the baby in the fringe chair, and on the back it said, not Lucy Hill, on the back of either of these photos. On the back of the child in the chair, it said, and I'm going to read this, Pollyanna, taken by Parlow, age 8 months, died age 5. So Katie immediately thought the child in the chair must be the same child as the child in the photograph, but that may not be the case. So the child in the chair is written on the back as Pollyanna, 8 months, died age 5. Now this photograph was taken in New Bedford, where Parlow was active. He was born in 1837. He was still taking pictures when my guy had his picture taken in 1880. And so I did some searching in databases to see if I could find a Pollyanna, born about 1862 or thereabouts, because we're guessing, of course, that this is 1867-ish or thereabouts. But I didn't find any exact matches. There's still some that need to be sorted out that may, in fact, be Pollyanna. But these things can take some time. Now, there are poems in this frame, and I believe I have that here. Let's see if I can make this smaller. Oops, no, it doesn't want to do that. Oop. All these pictures. Let's go to this one. Takes some time. Bear with me. We're going to make this one much bigger. So this poem over here on the right is pinned on top of another poem. So the two poems are, one is Alone, and I searched the first line of the Alone poem using quotation marks in an advanced search of genealogybank.com. Here's the interesting thing. So Lucy Hill dies in 1867. Pollyanna dies at age 5, and we don't know what year, but we have a photograph of her as a baby about 1870. But the first time that poem appears in a newspaper is December 5th, 1859. So is there someone clipping things out of newspapers that have to do with grief and loss and then saving them to create something later? Unknown. There were a couple of other dates when that newspaper clipping appeared, and it was like 1860 and 61. So it's all within that same 1859 to 61 period. The second clipping, way on the right, is a poem, a little thing talking about little girls. And the first line of that says, little girls are the light of a household. So searching that phrase with quotation marks in genealogybank.com, which is newspapers, guess when that first appears in the newspaper? December 4th, 1851. So now we have a handwritten notation for a little girl who dies in 1867. We have Pollyanna, who, if this is a circa 1870 photograph, dies somewhere around 1875. Then we have a news clipping from 1859, and now we have another news clipping, this one from the Boston Recorder, for December 4th, 1851. It even gets better than that. So then, we're going to get these out of the way. Here we have another part of the mystery. This is a fabulous mystery. Here is on the back of the whole thing, used to line the frame, is I get my notes here. There's so much to this. I used Google to search for the Chicago Tribune of May 16th, 1867. And guess what? You can search you can find online free of charge the archives of the Chicago Tribune. And so you can read the full newspaper for May 16th, 1867. So right now we have an overlap with Lucy Hill, who dies in 1867, and the Chicago Tribune newspaper from 1867. I did some reading of the newspaper, but didn't immediately see Lucy Hill. I'm going to leave that for Katie to do a little more searching. You can also find the Chicago Tribune on newspapers.com if you have a subscription for that. My consultation services include a full analysis of what your family history, and how the photographs fit into your family history. So in this case, it is a wide-ranging mystery where we have two pictures and all those clippings, and we're missing some of the family history because this is not Katie's photograph, nor is it my photograph. So there's a little more digging that has to happen. The two images in this frame are from two different time frames. Pollyanna, circa 1870, and then the other little child appears to have a little white dress on with a high neckline. And that child's image dates from circa 1900. It's a different type of image, and the clothing fits that time period. Unfortunately, of course, this now leaves us with a bigger mystery. What does a newspaper from 1867 have to do with the death of a child in 1867, have to do with newspaper clippings that date from 1851 and 1859? I don't know. There's still a lot of work to be done on this, but I'm hoping that this information and this online live consult will give Katie a little bit more information to try to solve this photo mystery. Now, thank you for joining me today. If you have mystery photos and would like me to weigh in on them, you can do so by going to my website, which is maureentaylor.com, and clicking the consult link. It'll take you through the process. And I look forward to seeing your photos. And I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Ask Maureen. Thank you.